Well, today is Thursday, the 27th of October. It's the 15th day of my 2016 Namibia trip. I've done just over 3,000 miles so far, just under 5,000 kilometers. 95% of that is on gravel roads like this. Some were a lot worse than this. This one is actually pretty nice, pretty quiet. I'm on the D446 in southern Namibia. I have now had a little time to really evaluate this AT Africa Twin. There's been so much speculation, would Honda bring it out, would they not bring it out? There was a lot of spy photos, and it's taken a long time. It's taken more than 10 years for them to eventually bring out a successor to the XRV 750, which was the original Africa Twin, which a mate of mine had on this trip, but we'll get back to that in a few minutes. A few things that I really noticed, which I need to share, is the fact that the headlights only come on on one side, which is a pity, because the Yamaha I used to have had both lights on, and I think it looks a lot better with both on. They can be adjusted, that one can turn the left side one down a bit, that it then makes it easier for people to see you coming. I like the fact that there's two headlights on instead of one. The other very good thing in South Africa this year on this one is that, as in Europe and as in the States, the indicators are on the whole time. I think that's a very good move indeed. It looks good and people can see you coming. One thing that I find is very difficult to read is the instrument panel. It's on at the moment, and the minute there's a bit of dust, very difficult to see what it says. This is a criticism which has been mentioned a few times, unfortunately. What I do like is the fact that the handlebars are rubber mounted, so there's very little there's very little vibration through the handlebars, and I tend to get it in the right index finger that goes to sleep. On this one, that happens very seldom. Very important for handlebar protectors, because the original ones just pop off if you were to drop the bike. One of the odd things is why MRA didn't do a bit more homework, because there's a lot of flies around here, because the screen catches the rearview mirrors on lock. And for that matter, she can only lock to the left-hand side, steering lock. She can't do so to the right, which is sometimes a wish that one would have both. The tank range was not a problem at all. I get easily 350 kilometers, which is a good 200 miles out of it, and that I think is pretty adequate. It was something I was a little bit concerned about to start with, but turns out to be good. This is the battery compartment and the 7 or the 8 piece toolkit, and I made the mistake of opening this toolkit, and it took me about an hour to get this cover back on, because it's got this metal frame which goes over the cover. That was extremely difficult, and I will not be doing that again. But I did put it in because I have a little charger, quick connection for a charger for my battery. I like the fact that the gear lever has a pivot head. That's pretty important. And I also put on a bigger camel toe, as they call it, on the side stand, which makes a huge difference. The seat was really comfortable. I was really impressed with how comfortable the seat is. And below it I have my disc lock, which I would otherwise normally have hanging here between the yokes. At the rear I mounted a protector for the voltage regulator, which really was a good thing, because it's taken a stone right there, and I think that would have been problematic. I also added an SW Motec extension to the chain protection, chain guard, but I had to modify it a bit because the two would clash under compression of the rear shock absorber. Speaking of which, the rear shocks are pretty good. The rear shock is very good. I added 7 clicks of extra preload, and I've had no problems with this weight that I've had on this particular trip. She goes very well. I haven't done anything to the front because I deliberately wanted to see what the standard settings were like, and to be honest, they're good. The rear tire, as in the front, is tubeless. Sorry, is tubed type tires and is not tubeless. And I don't know if I really like that idea. I have 4mm hard duty tubes in them, and I must say I've had no problems, but it's always something I'm very careful about, specifically in the mornings when the tire is still a little bit soft. Tool tube was a real good idea. Got all my tools in there. That's really worked out well. This frame from Hepco and Becker is incredibly sturdy because we had to tow the other Honda XRV 750 80 kilometers, about 50 miles, day before yesterday, and I tied it on here. We had about a 20-meter rope, and I'll include a photo here of what that looked like. That was very interesting indeed. On the other side, I'm really impressed with the Akrapovic. I'll start it because very few people do a good indication of what it sounds like. To me, it just sounds great. I really like it. It's not as noisy as what I have on my Yamaha Super Tenere. This one sounds very good. So, these bikes are pretty expensive new, but they give you very little, to be honest. They give you 2 wheels, an engine and a tank, and you can very easily spend 25-30% of purchase price on a whole range of very, very intricate, interesting accessories. There's 20 different companies which makes accessories, and they were inundating the agents with their different offerings. One that I did get from Touratech is a protector for the rear master cylinder, and I think that was a pretty good move indeed. I haven't had any problems with that, and it's a little exposed. The nice thing about the new Session GoPro is you can mount it anywhere, and it definitely works nicely. I think there was a lot of expectations in the market about how this would perform against the European, specifically the German, the Austrian, and a couple of the other Japanese motorbikes in the 1000cc class. Well, this isn't an 1190, it's not a 1290, it's not a 1200, it's in actual fact a 1000cc, and that's what it's meant to be. The engine is incredibly smooth. It is probably the highlight of this bike to me, is how smooth this engine is. The consumption is good because of it, and I can't fault this bike at all. Honda have certainly done well, without a doubt. There's very few things I'd change if I had to do this trip again. But one thing I would like to get is tubeless, at least a tubeless front tire rim. It's the only thing I'm a little hesitant about. Therefore I have to have 2 spares, one front and rear tube for this. On the other Honda we changed tires 5 times, or we took the front tire 5 times in one day. It's the same type of tire, same size, same rim, same tube. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this. It's meant to be a little bit informative, and this is part 3. I have a nice video of my favorite road in Namibia, which is called the D707 in southern Namibia. The sand was incredibly soft, and I'll include that video at the end of this. And remember, take it easy, and if you can, don't ride at night. Thanks for watching. Bye.